Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing a John Carpenter classic, They Live. This came out in 1988 and stars Roddy Piper, Keith David and Meg Foster. The film really focuses on Nader, played by Roddy Piper. Drifter who is trying to find work in this particular city, looking for work, which he does find, and he befriends Keith David's character, Frank. He starts to live sort of in this homeless area with all these other people. They have this TV set up outside and they're watching the TV, and then these images pop up of this guy trying to tell you the truth, trying to say that we're all living a lie and we're all asleep. And this begins an interesting journey for Nader, who is an average guy who stumbles upon this extraordinary thing happening. And with the aid of a pair of sunglasses, they allow him to wake up to the fact that aliens have taken over the earth. And with the aid of sunglasses, he's able to see the truth. When he puts the glasses on, he sees that all this advertisement and all these shops and all this food and TV as well, he sees the reality of it. It's just propaganda, it's just stuff trying to get you to buy things and try and get you to stay awake and not ask questions or go against what they've sort of created. And so every time he puts the glasses on, we see it in black and white. And we see the words obey, still asleep, consume, all these sort of words that subliminally we don't take any notice of until he puts the glasses on. And it also reveals that some of the people aren't people at all, but actually aliens, and they're all creepy, and he only gets to see that with these glasses. And he becomes part of a group who are going against it, to try and get everybody to wake up, to take out these sort of alien creatures that have seem to have taken over the world. And it's really about him bringing in people and trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, to stop these aliens from taking over, and to sort of allow humanity to sort of rise once again, and has kind of an interesting ending as well. I think this film's fantastic. It's a little cheesy and a little over top, but that's what makes it so great. It's engaging, it's a cult classic for a reason. John Carpenter has his great ability of crafting interesting and unique stories, and this is definitely one of them. It's a political and social commentary on what was happening at the time, who was in presidency, but it's also still very relevant today, that we are a consuming world, that we see ads of things and we think, oh, we need that, or we've got to buy multiple things, or we've got to get obsessed with things, or we believe everything that the media and the news are telling us. And I think this film really sort of looks at that in an interesting way. I think Roddy Piper's solid in this. He's not a brilliant actor, but he sort of suits the character he's playing, Nader, this down on his luck sort of guy that gets swept up into it, this everyman that we really sort of connect with in a way. But what makes Roddy so interesting is he's sort of this big hulking guy. And this film in a lot of ways feels like those classic action films with Arnie and Stallone. How he gets swept up in something and he has to become the hero. He's a reluctant hero in many ways. And I felt, at times it felt like Rambo, especially the first Rambo. You know, when Rambo comes home and he doesn't know where he fits anymore. And he feels a bit lost, and he tries to find his footing and ends up getting caught up in something. And this is exactly the same thing that happens in here. I felt that the Nader character could have been interesting if he was from the military, but maybe it was too on the nose with Rambo in that regard, but I just thought that would have made sense with what he does in this film. He's just an interesting guy to watch. There's a fight sequence that takes place. He gets to show off all his wrestling moves, and you can tell he's a wrestler by the certain moves that he does. Him and Keith David fight each other. Because Nader's trying to convince Frank to put on the glasses, and Frank wants nothing to do with it. But then they become a solid and interesting friendship between the two, who become the revolutionaries to stop these aliens, which I really loved. He just has this sort of presence as well. When I watched him in this, there was a lot that reminded me of Mark Wahlberg. I think Wahlberg's a far superior actor to Roddy Piper, but just the way he looked, his face looked very similar. The way he acted, the way he carried himself was very similar. And I kind of found that fascinating to watch. Nader has one of the best lines in an action movie I've ever heard, where he goes into a bank, he's armed, he has the glasses on, he sees that there are alien sort of creatures there, and he goes, I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. And I'm just like, that's such a great line. It's one of the best lines in the whole film. And you just see him shooting these creatures, which I loved. It just is a captivating film, and this journey of this man trying to get to the truth. And it has some great music as well that Carpenter provides. This sort of tune that's for Nader, I guess, in many ways. And it has this tune all the way through when he's sort of down on his luck, when he's trying to become this reluctant hero, and he's taking a stand. He doesn't want to take things anymore, and he wants to rise up and help his fellow man who is suffering. I really love that. I think he's one of the best sort of over-the-top characters I've ever seen, and Roddy Piper is fantastic in it. Keith David's solid, plays in a sort of a simple guy that sort of gets swept up in this as well. And like I said, the bond between Frank and Nader is evident, and the chemistry between Keith David and Roddy Piper is evident as well. Meg Foster's in it. She's an actress that has the most extraordinary eyes. They're unique, and they kind of look fake, but they're not. And she's not quite what she seems, and she only serves a little bit of a purpose in the film, but I like her character anyway. I like the social commentary this film has. And it's sort of not on the nose, but it's sort of trying to shake people awake. And people watch this going, oh, it's a silly, far-fetched idea in film. No, it's not. The social commentary is so relevant even today, where we're just about consuming. We're about mindless consuming and materialism and being so focused on material things rather than people and humanity and living a better life. And that's what this film really looks at, and how we are swayed by what's happening. And what's to say there isn't actually subliminal messages being shot out in commercials, in magazines, in movies, in a variety of other things. So this film in many ways is very relevant even today, even though it came out in 1988. It's just such a fascinating and fun and entertaining movie. I like the visual effects. I like the design of the creatures, where when you see them, they've got these big googly eyes and their teeth stick out and they're different coloured. And they kind of look really creepy, but it works really well. In many ways, it feels like an episode of The Twilight Zone or something like that, where there's this sort of creepy thing happening and these people get swept up in it. But it's just visually, they look kind of interesting, and I like the way they've done it. And when we learn about how they travel from place to place and how they're sort of disguising themselves with this sort of signal that makes everybody think they are human, but they're not. And just this is transporter thing where they can shoot off to any universe, any planet, stuff like that. And I really like that. It's this underground thing of them secretly taking over, and by the time humans realise, it's nearly too late. It becomes a race against time with Nader and Frank trying to stop this from happening. And it ends in a way that sets up that things could change, but there could be more. We could have had a sequel to it. And I like that. I think Carpenter has this profound ability to work with, science fiction and horror and these sort of things, and craft movies that are just pure entertainment in many ways, but are filled with interesting ideas and characters. The social commentary reminds me of George Romero in many ways, of how he did that with his zombie films. And it's like Carpenter's crafting his own world here. He made the movies he wanted to make. He didn't make movies that everybody wanted to see, and there was opportunities, given movies to make, but he didn't want to make them. And he just stuck to his guns, and this is a great example of what he's able to accomplish. And his sense of play and fun, and the characters' experience and journey, and the colourful way he's able to craft an interesting world. I like when the glasses are on and we see everything in black and white, which makes it feel like a 1950s sci-fi film. And there's even these things that fly around, like cameras taking pictures of them that look like UFOs. I really like that. It's sort of a throwback to the old sci-fi, but putting a present day spin of when the film came out in 1988. There's so much to love about this film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of Carpenter, you have to see this film. If you're a fan of just entertaining and fun films that are a little over the top, but have interesting characters and great sort of one-liners and action sequences and visual effects, this is definitely a film for you. Final thoughts. At the center of this film, it's really about social commentary. It's really about how we are consumers and we blindly do it, that we kind of stay asleep and we don't ask questions. We just accept the world in front of us, and we accept what everyone tells us as the truth rather than seeking it for ourselves. I'm going to give They Live 4 out of 5. It was fun, entertaining, just very well done, and very engaging and fun movie. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe at the bottom. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.